There's an orgy in the temple as we watch Rome. My only regret is I didn't get my turn.
But I wanted to ask about your, just like how you feel about pop music and like how you try to approach it and whether you think about it at all when you're making this kind of music.
I guess the way I would describe it is like I grew up on pop. 80s new wave is like, that is my classic rock. Like my parents are Xers, so like that was like I grew up on like Depeche Mode and Duran Duran, like all that stuff. Growing up on that kind of gave me a short attention span for things having hooks or not having hooks. I love really experimental stuff too, and I played in a lot of noise bands. I don't have the patience to not have like a structure. I want it to be 3 minutes. I want it to like have something really like that really catches your brain, shoots some dopamine, and like gets stuck in there. But then also like I'm interested in all of that textural stuff and like, you know, the timbral ambient focus. It seems like it kind of comes and goes how much those two things are allowed to be blended.
What does melt world mean?
I hate it because it's kind of, it gets into the like pretentious, like I studied theory part of my writing, but it's like, it's very much this sensation that I had around when the album was coming together last fall. I grew up very afraid that the world was going to end. I grew up very much like in kind of our early developing awareness of just how bad climate change was getting. And living in Alberta where like, that's like, you know, the petro state, like that's the whole thing is just oil, oil, oil. So I always had this sense of like, the world is going to end. And at some point during COVID, I had this moment where it was like, the world has ended and that's great.
Yeah.
The world that I knew and that I was growing up into expecting has melted away. And what is left is this blank slate that we can just like paint on. And that's kind of what this album is, especially as kind of like a counterpoint to the previous one, Petty Grievance. Melt World is like the end of the world has completed and now there's nothing, and that's amazing. We get to write that story from here.
You've got like a theory reading, like kind of intellectual brain. I kind of want to know more about what that means, because
I went to school and I did communications and philosophy, and so it was just 5 years of just reading all that stuff. And
God
so
damn, that sounds hard.
I really try not to like apply it to my own art when I'm making it. I find being critical of it while I'm making it very paralyzing and stifling to the creative process. But like, I tend to lean back on that language when I'm trying to describe it, because it is just like self-conceptualizing, self-mythology, like is a lot of what I find myself doing. Contemporary psychoanalysis's regard for like the hysterical and the emotionally explosive and like catharsis is something that I think about a lot as far as my music's relationship to its audience and to me and to genre even. Like I think about emo a lot and how like, why is it that we have these like cyclical fashion cycles on catharsis? It is okay to be sad, and then it is not okay to be sad, and then it is okay to be sad, and what kind of weird ironic position we end up finding ourselves in when it's not.
Do you have an answer for this? Because I'm curious.
No.
You're trying to
again, that's the thing. Theory brain. It's a horrible disease.
Yeah.
You ask questions and there are never answers.
There's never answers. Yeah.
It's all my favorite